MrBeast is one of the most generous YouTubers on the platform. But what if I told you that it was all a facade, and the only person who knows the truth is his former editor who goes by the name Turnur. He ended up posting this on his Twitter, thinking about making a truthful video about what it was like working for MrBeast. Thoughts? Now, when you check out this guy's channel, he actually did make a video about working for MrBeast about a year ago, but apparently it wasn't truthful and he ended up holding some things back, which he ends up explaining in this Twitter thread where he says, "I'm not going to make a video about my time editing for MrBeast, but I will say that it was the most mentally draining time of my life. I was yelled at, bullied, called mentally retarded, and replaceable by MrBeast every day. Being in tears and having mental breakdowns day after day is difficult, and after a while became too much. After every editing mistake I made, I was made to feel like an absolute idiot. Even if the content wasn't real, no credit was given, unless a video I edited got credited to someone else. Editors were told, if we ever leave the team, we shouldn't be set up for success after. So no credit will be given. Ideas would be taken, people would be baited into the team, and would be screamed at, and then told I just misinterpreted what I heard by his impossible to please momager. I assume he either misspelled manager or he's doing a play on words where his mom is his manager. I'm not really sure how that is. Either way, he continues by saying, we would be forced to re-sign NDAs, and then told that these were our glory days. So that's a summary of almost every day on the team. That's what it was like to work for MrBeast, and that is why I don't work there now. Thanks for tuning in. Heart. Maria replies to this by saying, I can't even imagine one of them yelling at someone. Hope this isn't true. I've been watching them since he made worst intros ever. I hope he isn't one of those YouTubers who've changed after blowing up. Turnur replies, yes, he indeed did yell at me and call me mentally fucking retarded. We then get more info on the situation when Josh Pescator recaps it on his Twitter in a thread that starts out by saying, yesterday, a former editor for MrBeast, Turnur, spoke out about their experience working for him. They detail an abusive workplace with demeaning language and an overbearing momager. There's also an exchange with Fly Does YouTube, the boy who called out Beast last year. He then shows a screenshot of the initial thread that we already went over, and then an additional screenshot that shows Turnur saying, okay, I'll make a video with proof and receipts and all that, and it'll be up probably next weekend. Sound good? To which Fly, Beast's other former editor, says, risky move. You might end up getting words thrown in your mouth. Words twisted and the whole 9 yards, no matter how much proof and shit you have, but do what you think is right. Turnur then responds, yeah man, when you made your video, the office was in panic mode, because everything you said was true. There were basically a, how do you cover this up meetings, rather than a, how can we fix this ones. Then the momager wanted to get all your clients to blacklist you. Toxic. So remember this interaction for later because it will become pretty important later down the line. Josh Pescator continues his thread saying, while Turnur has not released any receipts or proof yet, I have contacted him for an interview. I'm interested to hear about MrBeast's support staff and the way they are treated. I would also like to read the NDA he makes staff sign. I've heard rumors since Drama Alert. And for context, Josh Pescator used to work for Drama Alert, now he doesn't. Continuing on to his next tweet, he says, Turnur will have to address the videos he made talking about how nice MrBeast was when they let me go. They even paid my rent, told me to stay as long as I want, and continue to pay me after he was let go. And then he shows a clip from the video that Turnur made announcing his departure from MrBeast's editing team.
They wanted people who were going to be there for the long term, and I was working as hard as I could every single day that I showed up to those offices, and they told me that they admired like my work ethic, everything was good about what I did, and I really didn't do anything wrong. It was just that they wanted people who would be there for the long run. So they asked me my final decision if I still plan on doing other things in the fall, and I was like yes, and they were like, well, because of that, we're gonna let you go. So it was basically mutual. They asked me, are you still gonna do this? And I was like yes, and they were like, all right, but you know this is what we're gonna say. We're gonna say you're gonna be let go if you answer yes. And I was like yes. You know what I'm saying? If that If that didn't make sense, then that's pretty understandable. However, they did say some other things which were so kind of them. So what they did right after that, after they let me go, they said, alright, so we pay for the apartment that you live in right now down the road with other people. I lived with a kid named Eric who was the other videographer for MrBeast, and they said, who also, by the way, MrBeast paid for my rent every month when I lived in North Carolina. And he said, alright, you can live here as long as you want. You can literally stay in this like pretty expensive apartment just until you feel comfortable leaving. Don't feel like you're in a rush. Stay as long as you want. Stay for months if you want to. It doesn't matter to us. And he was willing to pay my rent and let me live in that apartment, which I did move out of pretty quickly. However, I had the option to stay there for a long time, which is so insane to let him do. They're still paying me right now. I'm still technically working. I'm not going to give like any numbers or anything. They said we're still going to pay you for a while, and that is basically funding my trip to backpack across Asia, which is so insane. Just like imagine that. He's saying you don't have to work for me, but I'll still pay you. And because of that, I hope that lets you live in LA or whatever you want to do, go to college, backpack Asia, whatever you want to do after this, I want to set you up for that. And that's so insane. I'm just thinking about it right now. I've never really thought about it, but if you're watching this, MrBeast, I fucking love you, bro. So not only does he let me live in an apartment rent-free, he gives me tons of, I don't want to say tons of money, but he gives me a lot of money to fund whatever I want to do after this. Whatever my aspirations are, he's just like, I want you to do what you want to do. So here you go. Now fly, my little dove. I mean, he didn't really say that, but basically.
Holy shit. The contrast between what he was saying on Twitter and that video he made a year ago is just like, so mind-blowing, man. So obviously, because of this, a lot of skepticism was levied against Turnur. One of the first people to speak out against him was Black Wolf Company, who quote tweeted his initial thread and responded by saying, "Based on the track record we've had this year, I'm very unconvinced about the legitimacy of this. If you have a potentially defamatory claim against someone, you need to actually provide more than just a personal recount with no evidence. Seems like an attempt for clout." Turnur then responds, "It's cool to not believe me. I'm sharing a personal experience I want to get off my chest. Not trying to end any careers. I have no say in how big this got, and didn't have that intention. Looks are deceiving though, and MrBeast was terrible to me. Why would I even make this up?" BWC then responds, "The same could be said about many of the exposés released this year through Twitter. If you signed NDAs, then it's clear MrBeast has legal resources to exploit. Knowingly coming out without support from, say, SOAR as a legal entity is very questionable." SOAR being the esports organization that Turnur now works for. He then responds, "Okay." Augie RFC then responds to Turnur's initial response to Black Wolf Company and says, "He asked for evidence and you ignored his question by asking a dumb question yourself of, why would I lie about this? You can trust me. I don't trust you for a minute. And if your video doesn't have evidence, we will tear it apart easily." To which Turnur also responds to that by saying, "Okay." John Swan responds to the thread by saying, "Seems a bit far-fetched, buddy. It's been proven on various occasions that MrBeast has a heart of gold. And to be honest, if you were an editor, you were pretty shit. The editing on his channel is nothing short of extremely mediocre. Mistakes are rampant in every video he does." And then he follows up his initial tweet by saying, "Bruh," and shows an image of Turnur in April of 2018, making this tweet to Keemstar. This is in response to Keemstar calling out Fly, which is the editor who had a problem with MrBeast that Josh Pescator mentioned earlier in this video. He responds by saying, "As the guy who MrBeast hired instead of Fly, and the person who Fly talked about in his videos, I can state that MrBeast treats everyone on his team, including me, with high amounts of respect. It is a super high energy work environment. To be honest, never had a better job." So that tweet is directly contradicting what Turnur is saying now, which is that MrBeast mistreated him. Wooly One responds to John Swan by saying, "I love MrBeast, but yeah, there's a big area for improvement. There was this one video where an editor fucked up and showed a media pending premiere placeholder, laughing my ass off." STFU Neb responds to Turnur's post by saying, "If this is true, I'm sorry, but where the fuck is the proof? I don't understand why people say this kind of stuff without proof." Then Turnur responds to them by saying, "Here's text I sent while working there. These texts start off with Turnur saying, "Lol, didn't expect that one. I feel that though, man. Working for Beast is like being a videographer for North Korea." His friend then replies, "Lol lol lol, why? Like what in particular?" Turnur then responds, "The dishonesty on payment, being told you'd make overtime, working overtime, then not getting paid how you were told, consistently reminds his workers we are replaceable, makes everyone miserable, and gets mad at everyone when he ends shooting early or forgets to do things in a video. Will get mad at editors for not hitting 10 minutes when he forgot the content. Reason for not giving credit is he doesn't want us to get big because then we could leave him and be successful on our own. The laziest person I've ever worked for. Will a good cut 5 minutes out of a video and be mad it's too short. Gets super jealous when we outshine him in videos and will intentionally cut us or redo our jokes if we are funnier." I went off laughing my ass off, but it's an interesting read. Also, his massive ego and his passive aggressive 24/7. His friend then responds, "Lol, oof. That sounds toxic." Shane then responds to these DM screenshots by saying, "In the most objective way possible. This isn't evidence he does that. This is word of mouth. We need texts, calls, emails, written proof from him or his momager to you or others on the team before we can say anything definitive." And now I would like to add my own comments to these text messages that Turnur showed. So these text messages that express disdain from MrBeast was sent by Turnur on May 8th, 2018. Yet we see him publicly praising and defending MrBeast multiple times before and after this date. The first of which being him announcing that he's working for MrBeast, saying it's a dream come true on the 5th of April 2018. We of course have that supportive tweet he made about MrBeast to Keemstar on the 7th of April. Another Twitter thread expressing gratitude for the job on the 15th of July after he sent those texts to his friend. There's the video we showed earlier that was posted on the 15th of August. And the most damning piece of evidence that I've seen so far is a comment he left in response to somebody else's comment on that video. And this comment was made 5 months ago, a total of 6 months after the video was posted, and he already stopped working for MrBeast. He had no reason to make that post for MrBeast, either as his employee or the person who signed the NDA with him. An NDA or non-disclosure agreement only requires you to not talk negatively about MrBeast, not to go out of your way to talk positively about him on a YouTube comment which you really don't need to reply to. There has been absolutely zero indication publicly that you have ever had a problem with MrBeast up until this day, over a year after you stopped working with him. As for the complaints themselves, it just really seems like over-exaggerating things that MrBeast does that he just doesn't like, or in some cases straight up lying about him. Like, for example, I doubt MrBeast is a lazy person. I mean, have you seen his videos? Have you seen the work being put into his channel? Yes, he gets help from other people, but he is the person who employs them to help him. He's working incredibly hard on his channel. Anybody can see this, especially if you are a YouTuber, and calling him lazy is just flat out wrong. Other things like him being mad that you cut 5 minutes out of a video. Dude, that's 5 minutes of video he could use for his channel to get the videos past the 10-minute mark. Getting videos past the 10-minute mark is extremely important in order to put mid-roll ads on there. In order for MrBeast to earn the revenue, he needs to give money away to people. Having a video under 10 minutes would be detrimental to MrBeast's channel. And the way this guy is typing, he just really doesn't understand what is required of a user to be successful on this platform, especially to the magnitude that MrBeast is successful at. But with all that out of the way, there were a couple people that were actually supporting Turnur on Twitter, and I would like to redirect our focus to those people so we can get a more balanced perspective on the overall opinions and sides of this controversy. Dave quote tweets Turnur and says, "This is my dear friend from high school, Matt. I heard all this shit back from when he was still working there. He's finally sharing his story. Go read it and make your own opinion on it. That's all I ask." Queen Sandra responds to Turnur by saying, "Turnur is not trying to get clout. He worked for him. For those who think all people on YouTube are nice, well, don't forget. You don't know what happens off camera. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Sorry you guys thought your idol was 100% nice for giving money." Whoa, okay. We get it. We get your opinion. You don't have to all caps. Jesus, that's it. I'm done reading tweets supporting this guy. We're going back to the other tweet. Craigie B responds to him by saying, "Make the video. Everyone has such a misconception of him. Show him for what he really is." Turnur then responds, "We'll do it for next weekend." To which Elucid responds, "Bruh, you gotta be kidding me. This is the most clout chase I've ever seen." To which Turnur responds, "How?" I guess he's just not self-aware enough to see how other people would potentially see his message. Genius Zeska responds to him by saying, "What about the NDAs you signed? Aren't you putting yourself at risk of getting sued?" Turnur then responds, I don't know, I signed that bitch like 10 times for no reason, so I should prob know what that shit said." Genesis then responds, "Yeah, you should definitely look at that before even tweeting about what happened back then, because even now, they may be able to sue you for defamation." Turnur then responds, "I don't know what they about to sue me for, I got no money, lol." So wait, let me get this straight. MrBeast gave you all this free money when leaving his editing team, and instead of putting it to good use, you went on a backpacking trip to Asia, and now you are basically broke about a year later. Good job, dude. Good job. I'm proud of you, man. I hope you can get the revenue you need to, live from this MrBeast video you're about to make. This time, don't waste it on a trip to Asia, okay? Okay, moving on, we have Code Ek responding to Turnur by saying, "Then why do you have a video called The Best Year of Your Life and MrBeast is the thumbnail?" Turnur then responds, "It's what YouTube gave me for a thumbnail, I don't know." Code Ek responds, "Then why is he even part of that video, if he abused you?" Turnur then responds, "Fun time still." Which Peter responds, "No, you can't say he yelled at, bullied, called you mentally retarded and replaceable, and the response to why he was your top moments of the year is, fun time still. You just admitted to over-exaggerating everything, if not most things," which I 100% agree with that statement that Peter made. You can't just go around saying fun time still to somebody you are claiming verbal abuse from. I don't know if this guy is just trying to troll us all and he's going to make a video saying, "Haha, I tricked you all," or if he's just that stone cold retarded. Maybe if MrBeast did call him retarded, he had a point, because holy shit. Another example of Turnur being pretty ignorant is when he replied to Josh, who said, "You need to understand that if MrBeast was to testify this, which is very likely, I'd recommend reading into the law of defamation of character. As we all know, Jimmy, who's MrBeast, is very wealthy and can hire very high tier lawyers. Just a tip." And then Turnur responds, "I'm just telling the truth, lol, what? Do you not realize that you're defaming him? Are you stupid?" Turnur then tweets, "Thanks for 4,000 followers. I appreciate the support you guys are showing me. Expect it to be buried in hate for telling the truth. Love y'all." Moving on to some more ultimately irrelevant but funny tweets nonetheless. Classy Gib says yikes and tweets out a picture of Turnur responding to an image of a dad kissing his son with "I'm wet." Augie RFC then takes this tweet and quote tweets it by saying, "Breaking news. It appears the editor who claimed MrBeast was abusive without evidence thinks little boys kissing adults is hot. Nonce?" He continues by saying, "Original tweet plus archive. Like I said, this could be a joke, but what an awful look. Oh no!" And then of course he links to the original tweet, which is still up to this day. I'm surprised he hasn't deleted it yet. Now normally I don't read out my own tweets on this series because it's not about me, it's about what other people are saying about the situation, but these series of tweets are important because Turnur actually ends up responding to it. So what I start out by saying is, MrBeast's former editor is on Twitter right now saying that MrBeast treated him poorly, but 1 year ago after quitting he uploaded a video saying this about him. And then I show basically the same clip that Pescator showed. I followed it up by saying, "Quits working for MrBeast to move on to other things. Praises MrBeast in his video talking about it. 1 year later, other things don't work out as well as he hoped. MrBeast is now an asshole who treated him like shit. If you're going to make up bullshit for clout, maybe delete the video that contradicts everything you're saying first." Turnur then responds to this by saying, "I really don't want to retype all of this, so I'm gonna tweet these DMs explaining. I'll come out with a video soon, man." These messages start out with him saying, "I mean, one time he shut me in a room for a week, and every time I'd mess up on a video, he'd delete the project file right in front of me. Then I got mad, and said I was gonna take a walk. And he came over and started calling me mentally retarded, and told me I better get back in that room and complete the video, because I'm a fucking retard. Lol. In which case, I went to the manager and was told, you just misheard him. Like, bitch? The guy before me, to truthfully talk about his experience working for MrBeast, was Fly Does YouTube. And the whole team made sure to blacklist him from editing clients, and make him look like he was lying about everything. So I was scared and wanted to do the opposite. But now I'm just like, fuck it. Too Mad, the person who he's talking to, responds by saying, yeah, but why did you say all the nice stuff? I get being quiet, but you went out of your way to say super nice stuff. Turnur then responds by saying, well, are we talking about nice stuff in particular? Like, I know I said nice stuff, but I don't know what I said. He then responds with a picture of Turnur defending MrBeast against Fly Does YouTube's claims, and then Turnur responds by saying, oh, we were told to back him up by his momager. So my opinion on these DMs. First off, MrBeast would never delete a project file right in front of somebody just because they made an editing mistake. As we saw earlier with Woolly1 and John Swan's tweets, MrBeast does not have the highest editing standards when it comes to his videos, and mistakes are rampant throughout his content. So if someone made a mistake, I doubt he would undo all of that work by deleting a project file. That just wastes so much time that I don't think someone as busy as MrBeast can afford to lose. As for him walking out on the job and MrBeast getting mad at him for it and telling him to get back in the room to edit, he's paying him to edit. You can't just walk out on a job. Is this Turnur's first job? Does he not understand the responsibilities of, being employed? If anybody at any regular job walked out on their boss during work hours, they would get fired. He's lucky he didn't get fired. What is he complaining about? How is this a point against MrBeast? Needless to say, I don't like the guy too much. John Swan responds to this tweet by saying, love to see that John Swan screenshot in there. This guy is an absolute nut. We were told by the manager to say nice things about MrBeast. Yeah, fuck off, lol. Poutine then responds to John Swan by saying, I think all of it could be true, up until the point you realize how poorly edited MrBeast's videos are, and think, holy shit, if this was the final product of countless redos and abuse, then I would have abused my editors harder. John Swan then responds, like dude, abuse for each little mistake? Bruh, then everyone must be abused 24/7 considering the number of mistakes in those videos. Damn. Can't believe no one else has spoken up about this abuse. Ian responds to this by saying, I'm close friends with Turnur. He told me many times he was unhappy with how he was treated, all while he spoke positively about him publicly. He isn't lying. I don't know what to tell you. So he was either lying publicly or he is lying now. I don't trust liars. Period. Let's just assume he's lying about everything. I think that's a much easier way to go about this. The YouTuber Optimist responds to all of this by saying, dude, you made a bunch of public accusations against someone that, at this point, have absolutely no substantial evidence to back them up. If you don't have any evidence to provide right now, or didn't have any to provide the moment you were going to tweet the accusations, why tweet? You can't just go accusing people of things this serious and then say, well, wait till next weekend and I'll explain it in a video. You've made potentially career-damaging, image-ruining claims about this guy to people on your timeline, and now beyond. You should explain. After Optimus tweeted this, he went to my original tweet to quote tweet it and say, so here's what I can get from this. MrBeast was nice enough to hire this guy, pay for his rent in this apartment, treated him well, and paid him salary above and beyond. It was mutual that he was leaving in the fall, and that he was let go. MrBeast was nice enough to let him stay in this expensive apartment for months if he wanted to, even if he wasn't employed by them anymore. Then suddenly, MrBeast's demeanor suddenly changed, and he went to holding him hostage for a week over a video? Contradicts everything. MrBeast deletes all of his project files if he messes up, wastes time, money, and energy just to be petty with this guy for no reason whatsoever, knowing that it could come out in the future. MrBeast verbally berates him after being kind enough to literally do everything before. This guy couldn't remember what he said in the DMs before, but is supposed to be trusted when it comes down to everything else. Other employees of MrBeast have come out and said that MrBeast treats them with the utmost respect, and that this seems like utter bullshit. Frankly, I don't believe a single second of anything this dude is saying, and I think that everything he's saying contradicts everything else. MrBeast was nice, now he isn't. He couldn't remember what he said, but he can remember the approximate sitting positions at the table. A good while after all of this goes down on Twitter, Turnur makes a follow-up tweet that says, might record this video today. Seems like the story really blew the fuck up. Mefres responds, I am so ready to see MrBeast expose you and possibly sue you for defamation and possible slander. Turnur then responds, are you so ready? Wow man, that's awesome. He then tweets out, this seems like a pretty good time to start my OnlyFans and private Snapchat career. Cordy Sarah responds by saying, oh yeah, make false accusations which could harm the editing community as a whole, and joke about it while you're at it. And then Turnur responds with, the very hungry Cthulhu pillar. Wow. So, Turnur's attitude and either real or fake ignorance on the situation, saying stuff like, wow, this really blew the fuck up, is just ridiculous. I mean, yeah, no shit, your accusation against a 20 million sub YouTuber you used to work for blew up. Like, are you stupid? Either way, I think I've already said everything I need to say on this guy. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe. If you want to see more videos, they will be on the screen right now. Thank you so much to my channel members, and thank all of you guys for the support on the last video. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy this one just as much. Anyways, I've been talking for way too long. I've got to go. I'll see you guys in another video.